This is Customs for the Kid, and we're doing a one-time podcast. This isn't going to be a regular thing. This is called Left on the Shelf, Star Wars Custom Action Figures from a Customizer's Point of View. All right, so let's just briefly introduce ourselves. I'm Darth Daddy. This is Elias. We're from Customs for the Kid. We have a few of our friends on here that are well-accomplished customizers, and we're just going to talk briefly about the effect on customizing by changes that have taken place in the way Star Wars action figures are being made by Hasbro. So we'll just go through, I guess we'll go by the boxes. Chad Peak, also known as Peak-OB1 Custom Creations. Just everybody guys introduce yourselves and let the audience know who you are.
Okay, I'm Chad Peak, like he said, from Peak-OB1 Custom Creations on Facebook, and just avid collector and customizer since the beginning. That's me.
Dayton?
I'm Dayton Allen. I'm Sithfire 30. I've been customizing now for over, I'd say about 10 years, a little bit more than that. You probably know most of my work from the Alien series recently. But yeah, I've been a pretty heavy Star Wars customizer. That's how I got my start. So yeah, this is a very interesting topic for me.
And Ellie?
Ellie Spry. I go by Luke Sprywalker online. You can find me in various forums, Imperial Shipyards, some on Yak Face, on Facebook. Been customizing for, just like these other guys over 10 years, about 15 years for me.
All right, cool. So we're all customizers. We've all been at it for a decent amount of time. We're probably the most junior ones in the group as far as the amount of time spent in the hobby. But yeah, we're just going to go over basically what we've been noticing from Hasbro in the last few years, just a change in the way that they are producing their product and what effect it's going to have. I guess first we'll just go over what we're noticing from Hasbro. And I don't know about you guys, I noticed a change probably around 2013.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, big time.
All right. So
that was the year of infamy for sure. It was
Yeah.
the year everything pretty much changed. If I can just chime in real fast, 2013 was where we definitely saw a lot of the problems coming in. 2012 had your figures from the Clone Wars where they were starting to lose their articulation. It was the first time we were seeing that. And then in 2013, there was all the distribution problems and that Yoda wave. It was starting to disappear, and it was not available anywhere in the U.S. And that's where I think 2013 was where the changes started to occur.
And what were the changes that you guys feel that you noticed in the product line?
Just a total. I mean, it was like a shell game, kind of like it. Just started. They started experimenting in exclusive waves in different markets or in stores. It wasn't like the. Whereas the vintage line, up to the point when the vintage line died, it was pretty much all the stores got stock, and they were having distribution problems. I understood that, but then they started off with these exclusive waves at Walmart or this or that, and then, after that, it just seems like it became. They started softballing it a little bit. The creativity department went sour. It's just, the vintage line where they had all the old vehicles brought back, new molding, the Millennium Falcon in the vintage box. That was great stuff. Then all of a sudden, now we're getting a Slave One that's half the size in a box, or we're getting Millennium Falcon with a Nerf shooter, and all this stuff. And it just seems
what
like
did you call it? You call it like the hot dog shooter or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looks
it was a hot dog shooter.
Yeah, so it just seems like they just decided, I remember a couple years ago at a toy fair when they were talking about the Black Series 6-inch being the new future line for collectors. We're going to focus on the collectors for the we're still going to do the vintage line eventually, but we're going to do this for the collectors. I knew it seemed like the BS that they were giving us was that they were trying to kill the 3 3/4 line. I guess they are. I don't know what they're doing. I'm just totally confused with their idea.
Like, it looks like it was starting to mirror what they were doing in Marvel, like where they had the 6-inch and they had the 3 3/4 inch, and it almost seems like they just tried to apply the same marketing strategy that they were using there to the Star Wars brand, where Star Wars was always like, well, you know, we like to call it the King of the Mountain. It was the best toy line. It was the most successful toy line, and
I feel like they're starting to kill it.
Yeah.
They probably are going to kill the 3 3/4 inch line because we're now starting to only get 5 POA. The details,
I feel like the detail's not bad. The paint sometimes.
The paint applications are off. Remember that first order Stormtrooper that we found? The entire visor was painted completely off.
Yeah, and that was a $15 figure, but
That's
and
another
like we're paying so much for pieces of like food.
Exactly, and that's the other reason why, you know, when the Black Series 3 3/4 inch line started out, you know, the black header card or the black backer cards on it. That's when I stopped collecting Star. I haven't purchased one of those 3 3/4 figures since. I still want to go back and get some. I mean, that little Jawa 2-pack, I want to get some of those guys and stuff. But I just lost all passion in that, and it's because that price hike. I mean, I can't go to a shelf and say, okay, $20 for a 6-inch, and then almost $20 for the 3 3/4. Kind of little
Shouldn't it
nuts.
be half the price for half the size?
Yeah. Plus, you know, like you said, the sculpts are there, and that's what's even more aggravating. The sculpts are great. It's just the paint app's awful, and it's 5 POA. I'm going, that's awful, man.
Yeah, I agree. See, we boycotted the 6-inch line when it started over here because, as you can tell behind us, there's so much money invested in the 3 3/4 inch line. I'm not starting over again, and shelf space is limited. It's like,
and the TIE Fighter thing, I thought that I was like, oh my god, did they really just make something that big without any sort of play feature? It's just a giant piece of plastic. Where in the world are you even going to put it?
the 6-inch.
Oh yeah, the 6-inch TIE Fighter is huge.
Yeah.
I had a conversation the other night with somebody, and we were just hashing it out, and he had got into saying why are people not receptive to the 6-inch TIE Fighter, and I explained to him very carefully. I was like, well, for example, look at what's behind you guys. We would be more accepting of a bigger ship like a sandcrawler or a sail barge or something like that, because we have all the stuff sitting right behind us to reach.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Twilight for the Clone Wars.
Yeah, for the Clone Wars, exactly. What was
How
that?
did we not get the Twilight?
Yeah, they're wasting plastic, making things that are way too big that we don't even need. When we need stuff for 3 3/4 inch, that would be the exact same size.
That's true.
Yeah, I really want that ghost.
I think we all do. We all do.
That's right. Well, for me, you know, collecting since the 90s mainly, you know, re-release. I had some of my older vintage things, but not a lot. And really collecting since the 90s and seeing the progression of figures. And, you know, we finally get to Hasbro giving us the vintage line, you know, and the Clone Wars line. You know, I collected both. Vintage being, you know, the best figures we've ever had, probably. Articulation wise, sculpt wise, quality of plastic wise, and then, you know, we got to the pinnacle, and then it's like it fell off, like Chad touched on
as soon as Disney bought it,
you know, you could see, you know, articulation was going away. Then after the end of the Clone Wars, you know, we start getting 5 POA. You know, they're paying for resculpts of figures. You know, when they already have superior molds for. I just don't get that. I don't see how it's cheaper to pay people to resculpt, remold, create a totally new figure versus using molds you already have from superior figures, you know?
That's probably why they charge us more.
If you're going to put out another Han Solo, don't all of a sudden give us the Han Solo that's stuck like this, you know, pointing at the wall. You know, pick your good Han Solo and give us Han Solo. If we need another Han, give us a good one, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just the quality of the product, and with a price hike, you know, it's just like a double kill. And I wasn't going to collect the 6-inch line either. I was just boycotting it. And you know, I see some of the figures hanging on the wall, on the pegs. Little impressed, not super impressed. And then I started looking at them as I'll just cherry pick the ones that I want. You know, I'll cherry pick a few here and there, and I'm going to build a diorama for those. You know, I may not do it tomorrow, but I'll set them aside for an idea I have. So I started liking the 6-inch, and like Dayton was touching on. And my case is even harder because at my Walmart 6-inch figures are $18.87.
Oh wow!
You know, and the 3 3/4 are $14.87.
Oh.
So it's, you know, $4 more, and I have this. It just displays better if I'm gonna customize and build a diorama for it.
Yeah.
And I can do the you know, the singular. I've kind of gotten into the Ron Himble, you know, style dioramas, you know, where you make a single scene, dissect it out. But that's what I like the 6-inch figures for. I'm not going to buy every one and collect them all. But that's the hard thing for me. I've bought a handful of 3 3/4 since this changeover. I bought that Jawa pack. I bought the Han Solo.
The Carbonite one?
Carbonite, yeah. I bought that.
Yeah. Those were okay.
Mosep, I bought him.
Yeah, that wave was okay, but it seemed kind of off too, didn't it?
Yeah, the plastic is wonky, you know, and like some of the hands
things pop apart easier.
Which that really started with the hands popping off for me. Started with that Snow Trooper commander.
Me too. Yep.
You know, you put a gun in one hand and you move it to pull it to the other hand, and you all of a sudden got the gun in the other hand in your hand fingers.
Yeah, that happened to me. I remember. I'm like, come on.
Who is it that pops apart of the waist? Really
I don't remember, but the quality of stuff is really.
Yeah, there was a figure that did that. Was it really?
As soon as you try to put it in a sitting position,
popped apart or something.
Yeah, right at the waist. It went back together easily, but
that's right. Yeah,
still popped apart
too easily too.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's $10 cheaper, a 50-gallon barrel for soft plastic or something.
No more boiling popping.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Grab and pop.
Yeah. They seemed cheaper for sure. They seemed a little bit different. My personal opinion with the entire what I call the BS line. That a portion of it was supposed to be for the 3D releases, you know. So they put it all into one pot, and they're just kind of fangling it together, and that's why you had Bubblegate. That's why you had the parts popping off, like you guys were saying, the plastic being cheaper. I think they were once again out of time. They're always out of time. It seems like these days, like they. You know, they're like, we're so behind. We're so behind. We don't have time. Well,
the interesting thing is, I don't know if you guys saw that video probably like 2 years ago where Hasbro mentioned that they got a 3D printer and that they were going to start using the ZBrush and start doing everything with 3D printing. And
that
then,
would suck because there's lines.
Later on, they ended up saying, I think it was after a toy fair, that they can create an action figure in a day now.
Yep, I read that article. Yeah.
Yeah, with all the figures that we want, we're getting fewer figures than we used to. Although there are multiple waves, I guess, of the Force Awakens now. We're starting to see more new characters coming out. But there were so many characters that we wanted previously, and if they can make them in a day, you know, what's holding things up at this point?
Yeah. I wonder sometimes if it isn't that Hasbro has some economic issues going on. You
I
know,
think that's the biggest.
I think that if you look at it in an overall uh, sense of them cutting costs, cutting tooling,
Yeah.
cutting quality, cutting paint. That's all for, we all work. I work in a small business. We've had to cut corners over the past 8 years,
Yeah.
6 to 8 years, because the economy. Maybe that's Hasbro don't have a choice, perhaps. Which is why that rumor going around of their merger with Mattel.
Yep.
It could just be something that these two companies are having a hard time. The genre is changing. That the children aren't as big on. The majority of children aren't as big on action figures as they used to be.
Yeah.
So it could be that they're hurting in a way. But the thing is, I would go for them cutting the amount of figures released to have a good small quantity of core characters that are articulated and stuff like that, than just throwing out wave after wave after wave of these characters, especially in Force Awakens, of characters we didn't even actually really see much of. Not
Constable Zulia is perfect for that.
Yeah, there's a lot of. We have. I think how many figures are there? There's like maybe 4 on that shelf back there. I didn't even see in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, why even produce them? Why don't you just come out with articulated core characters that people would buy? I mean, people would go out and buy because they saw the movie, and stuff like that, and maybe just one big vehicle, instead of maybe like a new TIE fighter. They've done TIE fighters in the past; they can do one, this time. But I think that maybe it has to do with money coming in, and you think.
Or it could be about they have to, they are a corporation and they have to show profit for their shareholders, and maybe this might just be about like, hey, we need to pass on this much profit to our shareholders. Let's take it out of the consumers.
Yeah, because that price hike is absolutely insane. It's nuts.
It's terrible.
I mean, you go to Walmart, you see a articulated Kylo Ren in a cheapo box, 3 3/4 for $21 or $20 at Walmart. With no package art, no nothing. I mean, what am I paying for? Ridiculous.
Yeah, my dad
said you on that point of the money, and I think they have this. They've always had a thing about throwing money at games. They're dying to have a hit game. And they've always done that. They throw money at Angry Birds and these little side things, and they're wasting money when they could put money into a product that is successful. And that's my opinion.
Yeah, have you seen the interactive Yoda going on sale? Have you seen that?
Yes. Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's Hasbro proper making that, but that's just sad. I mean,
it is
$69 and people still won't buy it. I said it today. We were in Walmart and I'm like, I wouldn't even buy it for $50.
It creeps me out.
Yeah, it's not something.
It's nowhere to put it. It's huge.
Yeah, it's not something I want. Why waste your time? On something that big deal if it's interactive. Figures is what work. Figures what work.
Yeah.
And they won't give us play sets because they take up big shelf space. Yet they throw money into these big shelves. Don't say won't give a core of people who are buying their product and multiples of it. They won't give them things they ask for that take up less shelf space than say that Yoda.
Well, everything. It seems like it's all getting focused on media pushes now with new releases, and now that they're saying they're going to be making a new movie every year, I think we're just going to get limited runs of 5 POA of the main characters from each of these new movies.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, what you were talking about earlier with Marvel and how they copied it. I am of the opinion that Disney owned Marvel before they owned Star Wars, and their pride of ownership comes in, and they go, well, we were successful with this format, so copy that, because we don't necessarily know what George Lucas or Lucasfilm's format was, and we don't necessarily want to do that. So they look at their own success, and I think that's what's happened. But what that has done has kind of, like you said, knocked it off the mountain.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars is in a class of its own. It
Well, we liked having the Cantina sets. We liked having a full Jabba's palace and having all those background characters. And it's funny, you see all the forums that are talking about having these wish list figures, and they're naming prequel figures, expanded universe legend stuff, and even like obscure OTC figures. And I don't feel like we're ever going to get those ever again.
No. Not either.
Oh, you mean
Not
like classic figures? Classic figures?
Yeah, like I don't even think we're gonna get prequel or original trilogy figures ever again. I wouldn't be surprised. Like maybe iconic figures like a Yoda.
I don't agree with that one because they always have to have a Vader, you know, a Luke, a Han on the shelf, a Chewbacca, R2-D2, C-3PO.
But they're doing
they could always be from new movies now. You know, they'll have enough. In a couple of years, they'll have enough where they wouldn't have to.
Yeah, I agree.
I think maybe you know, over the next year and a half, 2 years, we'll see a few more original trilogy characters. I think that could happen.
Yeah.
What really upsets me the most, and I know some people that aren't collectors and stuff probably listening or watching going, oh, well, they're talking about action figures, and now you know, I'm sitting there going, listen, it's a hobby. It's what we like. I was inspired to start customizing when the first Power of the Force figures came out. And we all know what they look like. They were bulky. You know, Luke Skywalker was a wrestler that had like a big arm and everything. He was a 5 POA. They're all 5 POA. But I remember walking into a Target when they were first released and seeing all those on the shelf. I was going back to college. I was in college. I was going back to school. And I spent my week's money on buying all those off the shelf that early that morning around 9:30. It's like when you hear of a tragedy and you remember where you were. I remember where I was when I first saw the Power of the Force sitting on the shelf, and I got all those out of Target and I bought them, and I thought it was the greatest thing. And my first figure that I was inspired to do, I said, well, I heard about this black hole stormtrooper, so I'm gonna break out some acrylics and paint one. So I created like 2 or 3 of those bulky 5 POA black, and I never imagined that they would get any better than that, but I was happy with it. So, you know, here we are years and years later, and we've gone through this progression into these highly articulated, great-looking vintage card backs and all that stuff. You got the best. I think that was the pinnacle. They didn't really have to change much. If they had to backtrack just a little bit and say, listen, we got to save some money, they could have backtracked on some things that they did, but they really pulled back hard. Yeah. And I think it was almost what bothered me was if they weren't so secretive about it. At Toy Fair, it seemed like it was some sort of major conspiracy. Oh, we're not going to show you any new stuff this year. What was it, 2 years ago?
We can't talk about that right now. That's their line nowadays.
Yeah,
it's talk about it.
You know, I understand that they can't.
Like Fight Club.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, are they going to try to grab that same magic that they did with the Power of the Force line and release another 5 POA and reset? It's not going to work because these collectors have grown up with these figures. They've watched the progression. I think that's a high part of your market right now, especially I think children that are teenagers that are still into it. They've grown up with that market. So
really, that's Elias's market.
Yeah.
I mean, he grew up. He used to crack on me like in the old figures that I had, saying like, "Oh, your 5 POA figures." He said I had better play sets, but you know, he'll still say I had better play sets, but he cracked on my figures. You know?
I still do.
Yeah. And now I'm cracking on him, saying,
"That's right."
Now you have to deal with them.
Yeah. It's like it's a rubber band effect. They went from the highest, and now they smack right back down to doing the 5 POAs. But this time, it's figures it's based out of characters that none of us really know anything about, and we're learning as we go. But back then, in 94, 95, was it? I can't remember when it was launched. We knew all those. Yeah, we knew all those characters. So I saw on the shelf. That was awesome. You know, a bulky Han Solo, a bulky Princess Leia. I don't care. I'm buying them.
I get mine from a grocery store, believe it or not, because I would walk into a Toys R Us and the stock people were hiding those. You know,
Yeah.
I walked into a Toys R Us and I was like, don't you have any of the Power of the Force? You know, those new Star Wars toys? And he's like, well, I do, but which one are you looking for? And I'm like, Boba Fett. And he's like, nope, I don't have any Boba Fett. I'm like, how about C-3PO? And he's like, okay. He takes me over to the Barbie aisle and he like pulls it out from behind a Barbie. I'm like, I can't. But then I go down the street to my local grocery store. I was living in Denver at the time, and there they were on the shelf at my grocery store, and I was like, I have to have those. I have to have them. They're totally awesome.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I remember I had just gotten out of the military, and I was in Walmart, and I saw them, and it ended up turning like I just moved out of state and stuff, and I didn't know anybody where I was living. So whenever I wasn't working, I went on toy runs, and I just filled that whole Power of the Force line that year. Threw everything in a garage at my grandmother's house, and didn't even think about Star Wars till he was a kid.
Yeah, I remember when I turned 4, and you were like,
Well, hold on with your story, just because you got to think that kids of all ages might be watching this one day.
confusing me? You're confusing me.
Well, I don't know, because I've kind of told the story before, but I don't know. Well, let's not talk about it though. But yeah, he ended up getting into the Star Wars line from those. I gave him my Power of the Force figures, and it turned into this. But
let's just say that the hobby started early.
yeah.
Let's just say it started really, really early.
But,
Yeah.
but do you guys all feel like at this point going forward, we're probably never going to get the super articulated figures again? Like, I haven't heard, like, I'm hoping that at Toy Fair next week they do mention that there's going to be another Black Series super articulated wave coming, but I'm not very hopeful.
Hey,
I'm not
hey,
expecting it.
Brian, me and you were talking on the phone like when they first showed some photographs of figures from the movie, and we were talking about, you know, we may only get 5 POA figures from now on forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can remember. It's been a while. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, no, you watch. They do it every time. They're going to release 5 POA, and then someone's going to put out a line that's going to be fully articulated, and you'll get at least core characters fully articulated.
Yeah.
And then, like 2 months later, 3 months later, that Walmart line was released.
Yep.
You know?
I heard rumors, though.
I still predict that you know,
Yeah.
especially with movie releases, you know, they'll put out those 5 POAs, so they'll be out when the movie comes out, and then when everybody buys those that wants to collect, you know, somebody will come along again and pick up the line and say, hey, we want to do some articulated core characters. I think
But they never had, like, another movie coming up so quick behind it that they'd have to make new product for. Like, we're going to have to Rogue One, and then Episode 8, and then, is it the Han Solo thing after?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up.
Yeah, it is. But I worry that they may
There's
not
so much.
add all those articulated figures because they're always going to continuously be going forward.
Right.
Where, like, when it came to the other movies, we always had that lag where we could sit back. They had plenty of time to build new stuff because there was never, you know, we had Clone Wars, but they only went to season 3 with Clone Wars, and then they kind of dropped the line.
Drop down. Good
Oh,
point.
tragic.
Yeah, they're going to come so
Tragic.
quick. There'll always be new figures every year, pretty much.
Yeah.
The big difference I've noticed is the fact that they're coming out with articulated figures, but they're going to make it's like they're trying to kill the articulated interest.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they're killing it.
Yeah, we're going to release a limited amount of figures. The first wave they did for Walmart was absolutely horrendous. It was the figures everybody already has for $20-something a piece.
Yeah.
And then now this new one that came out. I mean, goodness sakes, it's I wanted that one to be exciting, but you know, it's too expensive to get into. And you know, I can't bring myself to pay that much money for a 3 3/4 articulated figure. Not that I've seen them, you know, they're out on the shelves, but whoever's buying them must have tons of money because I don't see them.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Probably it's in the, you know, they go straight to eBay. Whoever's buying them, I don't know, but it's not the same as it used to be. It used to be that they would come out with a 5 POA probably of something. Well, no, when it comes to Star Wars, what they did with Phantom Menace, they did a 5 POA, and then that lasted for about almost, let's say, a year, and then all of a sudden they came out with the articulated figures, and they just went with it.
Yeah, are you talking about in '99? Are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, '99 was awesome.
Yeah.
I like I said, I lived in Denver, so I got to go to the first Star Wars celebration, and of course Hasbro was there, and they
Cool.
showed everything. They showed everything on that poster, and you know, they showed the wave with Mahdi, and you know, the Leia with the hood up, and the classic stuff. But then they showed, it was like 27 figures from the Phantom Menace. There was no like spoiler alert or anything. We just saw everybody, and there they were, and they got us. What they did is they got us excited to get those figures, and they had come out like literally a week after the Star Wars celebration, and
That's
it was amazing because you could pick up everything. And even then, the 5 POA stuff, I didn't mind it so much because it had this sense of there was more to them. You know, their waist turned. You know, they actually had lightsaber hilts on their belts, and they had plastic, you know, gowns and cloaks and whatnot. And I thought that stuff was fairly decent, in my opinion.
Well, it's like they back then they said, "Wow, we can only do 5 POA, so let's put as much effort as possible to make them good, make
Right,
them cool."
and they were
Bring
good.
out-
I thought
yeah.
they were good.
These days, it's like all we want to do is 5 POA. Screw the rest.
Yeah.
And the skirts are a part of the leg, and you know.
Yeah.
I guess we could maybe start getting into how it's affecting customizing, because I know, like we talked about price point, it makes it so you can't buy a lot of fodder, where you used to be able to buy 3 or 4 of a figure, where you're like $15. I don't think I'm going to do that. And then, you know, as far as the sculpts, where you have skirt being part of the leg, you know, even if it's 5 POA, it makes it difficult to use it for a part.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You would literally have to cut things up, you know. Everyone would have to become a sculptor.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
But really, why do you even need that for a base? You know, I don't. It doesn't even make it. It makes no sense to try to customize with those figures. You know, to me, it just things aren't going to fit together. They're not. They don't all have the same legs. You know, like when you would pop leg, chest, you know, arm. They're not all gonna. They're not gonna fit together right. You'd have to do a lot of sculpting, and that's, you know, it's just not worth it.
You know what I'm doing? I'm going on eBay. I'm buying junk loose figures on eBay.
Yeah.
That's what I do right now too.
What's his name over in the Philippines?
Tongori.
Yeah.
Oh, Lori, my city.
He's getting my money. He's getting my money. I don't mind it. Take it. That's Hasbro. They can have their 5 POA. If I want to make my figures, I go to him.
Yeah.
So you know, and hey, that's the future of my customizing when it comes to the articulate. I need those frames. I need that. I don't have a vacuum machine to make molds and casts of articulated pieces that can actually function. So I have to use borrowed articulated joints for my work. So, you know, if Hasbro did it, I'd go to my local Target and buy a bunch of figures and use those. But hey, you know.
Yeah, I feel like they're losing profit from the fact that they're losing. I know I used to spend tons of money on fodder, and now they're going to lose all that money that I used to spend with them somewhere else. And on top of that, like with the media pushes, they're almost cannibalizing their own market, because they don't even get the full breadth of the money that they can make from each movie, because there's always something that's going to be coming up right behind, eating up the profits from the previous.
Yeah.
It's limited to what they can do also because of the distribution. That's the other woe. You know, we're not even getting near as much product as we were getting in the past, don't you think?
Oh yeah.
I certainly don't think they're. I mean, what's a number that the figure amounts? Would they do like 10,000 or 20,000 or? I certainly think it's less. It's less these days, for sure.
It's definitely low.
Yeah, and they're hard to find. You got to hunt for them. It's nuts. I go to eBay myself. I just can't. I can't be shopping all the time at Walmart, Target, Toys R Us, and hoping that they're going to be there, or just going with their prices. You know, when I can get something on deal. You know, you can get lots of figure lots. For great, you can get great figures on eBay, and I do that myself. I was going to say, Dayton, do you grind down everybody? Do you start from the ground up on everything that you do?
Yeah, I got a box of loose junk figures, and I'll just go ahead and pick which parts of which figure that I think that will work with the articulation of the figure I have in mind.
Yeah.
And then I put them all together, and then I reduce it all down to a skeleton, and then I sculpt over it, so it's a total sculpt. But you know, I don't want to have to sit there and look for parts and everything, from stores. It's pay $20-something for a figure and say, well, I'll buy. It used to be I'd go in and say, oh, I want that figure. I'll go buy the figure. I say I'll get a couple more like this one because I need the articulation because I might make some.
Right. Good body formations. The mechanics of them are good.
Yeah.
I call it the mechanics.
Yeah. Yeah. They did good tooling with their figures, and
yeah,
they're not.
So I know one of the things I noticed by shifting to 5 POA is how much it's going to affect diorama builders, people who do photo novels especially, because they need that range of motion just to, keep things diverse in their stories.
Like to bring out emotion through the figure.
Yeah.
It really does.
Narrows.
Yeah, it narrows down like emotions and what you can really convey through the figure.
Yeah. For sure. I
agree. I think they really underestimate the creative Star Wars fan out there, and even people that don't take it that far. There's a lot of people on Insta.
You hearing them?
We seem to have lost you.
We got a poltergeist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard something about airlines.
Yeah. Ellie, you're getting interference, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting some major interference.
Yeah.
Yeah, hold on a minute.
I'm getting a radio broadcast or something.
Interception.
What just happened?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, UFOs flew over your house, man, and took over your house.
Yeah, I think there's a plane going by or something.
Mari turned on this Bluetooth speaker in the kitchen.
Oh no.
Oh, cool.
Oh no.
I was just like, okay, all of a sudden no noise was coming out of this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we lost you for a minute. We lost you for a minute there, but you were saying something about.
I was saying that that they really underestimate the creative Star Wars fan that's going to go out there and buy multiples of figures, like Dayton was starting to say. If you find a great figure, especially a female figure like Ayla Secure, that vintage line, that's a great.
I buy two of every female, because they're a female. Simply.
And some figures you'll buy 10 of.
Yeah.
Oh, Clone Wars Ventress, I got tons of those.
Right.
Clone Wars Mandalorians, you name it. Pirates. Yeah.
But there's really no reason to buy multiples of their figures anymore.
No.
You really cannot afford the army build. Could you imagine if you wanted to army build that 3 3/4
First
Force
Order
Awakens Walmart trooper?
Yeah.
You know, at 15 or 16 bucks a figure.
I gotta eat, man.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, for real.
Don't you have a bunch, Brian? Don't you have a bunch of those? A bunch of the stormtroopers?
Oh yeah, I do.
How many do you have?
Hold on, I'll be right back.
Oh boy.
The articulating ones, because there's some 5 POAs mixed in.
Okay,
Oh.
A lot of those, it's been ramen noodles around here.
Yeah.
I might be gone for a while. We have quite a bit.
It was like,
No.
I think one I turned into a fin because the paint job on the goggles was bad, so bad that I was like, I'm gonna have to put paint on it anyway. So
Yeah.
I think we have like 9, including some.
Well, yeah, but
And then there's two super articulated ones in there.
no, there's not. Everything from in there was brought in here.
Oh, you
So
sure?
if you're
that's
counting
like
stuff that you bought in there.
$150, 9.
Well, yeah, then 9.
Yeah.
9.
Quite a bit.
9, not including.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's 10. I think there's like 1.
I think there's
5
8, including Finn.
What? No.
I don't know.
Maybe
Yeah,
8, but
I got two.
I thought we only had 1 5 PO.
I remember you got 4 under the tree, and then 3 we found at Walmart.
So that would be 7, and then we have that fin. Oh wait, yeah, so that would be 8. But then we have 2 5 POAs, so and all we have
Yeah.
10.
So yeah, we did here.
Some of those are the 5 POA ones. So
But
they weren't
we
15
also
bucks
made a
each.
decision this year that we're not buying.
You're not gonna buy the 5 POA, I'm guessing, is what's.
It was so light. We got the first one, the blue and white one, it was fine. The exclusives are fine, but when you get like the normal ones, when we got that black and orange one out of the package, it was already warped. And one of the TIE fighters, the exclusive TIE fighter was okay, but then we got the other TIE fighter, that one was warped really badly.
You broke up
In
a
the
little
pack.
bit. You were talking about the pack, the ships. Am I right?
Yeah, and I was looking at it. We were like seeing how to return it, and I'm like, how does this fit in? And I'm like, oh
What
wait, it
happened?
doesn't.
What
That's
happened with
probably why it's warped because the packages are too small.
Can you tell us what happened with it again? You broke up a little bit. Tell us what happened with the ship.
The
what
ships, like
They were just both warped right out of the box.
The exclusives are fine.
So,
yeah, the
so the
exclusive
quality
ships were
was
okay,
the
but
quality was
the
poor.
generic were not.
Yeah.
And it was at the point where we actually went to take them back to Toys R Us to see if I could exchange them. And we got the new boxes, we brought them up to the counter, and I was like, I'm not going to drive all the way home just to find out it's warped again. We opened them up in the store at the counter.
Worse.
Well, the TIE Fighter was worse than the one we brought to the store that we were trying to return. And the X-Wing was better. Because we ended up being able to exchange the X-Wing. But, I mean, that would have been like a total of, what, $80 in vehicles? I don't have $80
those things
to
were actually
gamble.
50. That would be 100.
Well, no, the TIE Fighter was 30. The X-Wing was 50.
Oh, that's a lot too, and that thing was like a.
Yeah, but that's a gamble. It's like if you, at the second you open the tape, it doesn't even have resale value. At least prior stuff, if you opened it and you had it open and you were an open collector and you like to display everything, you were fine. But now, if you're buying it and you're just opening the tape and it's not even displayable, you just lost all your money just by cutting a piece of tape. And then I can't afford to do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy anything I need to take a hairdryer to. So
Yeah.
Nah.
So at this point, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
Out. I've collected the new stuff, the Force Awakens stuff. Not all of it, but I thought that the 5 POA was going to be the only thing we were going to get. The Walmart exclusives, they didn't even sell those they didn't even pitch them at all. Did you notice that? Did you notice that they were?
Well, I think they are trying to get rid of them because assembly costs for those figures are much higher than the 5 POA. So you have more man hours, you have more manpower, and it's not cost they can't pass as much of the they have to spend more, and you know, we like before we'd be spending less, but now, you know, they have to raise the prices, everything, and I think they see that they're cutting a lot of people out of their market at this point.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just cherry picking myself. I can't buy everything. There's just no way.
Well, I bought the fin from the Walmart Super Articulated right out of the package. The first time I go to bend the joint, and I'm a customizer. I know how much to tweak things, don't tweak things. It snapped immediately, and
Wow.
I was upset, but at first, I was like, all right, you know, things happen. But then the next day, I go on yakface.com, and the same thing happened to Chewy, to two of the fins that he bought, the same exact joint that affected me. So it's like that goes beyond just a one fluke. That's like 3 figures from that the same figure in the same exact joint.
So the peg snapped off the ball joint?
Yeah, the elbow.
Gotcha.
Is it the right
They're
or
pretty
the
much like McFarlane
It
figures.
was the right arm.
the right arm?
The right arm. The
I
one.
still have yet to open mine. So
Don't
maybe-
open it. Don't open anything Black.
Don't open it.
I mean, don't anything Force Awakens. Just keep it sealed.
Keep it sealed. I have not opened any of it for some reason. I have bought a lot of the 5 POA stuff, the Super Articulated line. I really want the Leia, but I haven't seen her anywhere, and it's kind of a bummer.
Tom Corey has her. You're gonna spend $20.
Yeah, it's not what I want to do. I don't want to spend $20.
No, I know.
If I saw her, that'd be one that I would consider going. Yeah, all right, and just hold my nose and buy it. And it's because it's original trilogy, and I'm a OT junkie. So
they're a little bit more valuable, you know, to us older guys. We're all pretty much the same age, you know. And we definitely pulled towards those older figures, you know, and that was the only one I didn't find, and I was just so disappointed, you know. It's like I really wanted it.
That stinks too. I wish I knew, because the day I got those 3 Stormtroopers, they probably had 3 Leias there.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
There's a Leia at my Walmart if you want it.
Yeah. Pick her up, man. Pick her up for me. If you can pick her up, I'll send you the money.
Yeah, I'll get it tomorrow.
That's what we have to face. That's what we face today.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, we've been doing that for like 3 years. You know, when we wanted to really get when we wanted to get stuff. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
At least 3 years we've been hunting and pecking, and I moved to a different city, definitely a smaller town, and I just thought that this is just a terrible place to live for collecting or something. But it's got to be the distribution.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Tampa market sucks. You can't.
Oh man.
Anything.
Yeah.
All New England, same thing. It's terrible.
Yeah, if I buy anything, like I said at the very beginning, I haven't bought anything from the Star Wars 3 3/4 series since the vintage line ended. So I haven't gotten any of the Force Awakens stuff or anything like that. But if I ever want to, I just have to go to one of the online stores or go to eBay. There's no way I'm going to attempt to even hunt around here. No way. Hunting days, the last hunting day I did, I swear, I think it was sometime after the last episode 3 came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's been a long time, and I just gave up. One day I said, I'm using up all this gas. That's when gas prices were way up. Just to go around and find all the shelves cleared, and that's when they were really having their distribution problems. I think, if I remember right, they just started to, and it's a horrible situation. I just gave up on hunting at that point now. So it's, anything that I need for customs or anything like that, all goes to eBay right now. So
wow.
Hasbro ain't getting a dime of my money. I will say, I admit, I've been collecting some of the 6-inch. I remember, I'm sure there's a video of me somewhere saying that I will never buy the 6-inch. I will not do it. I will. Then they came out with that Sand Trooper, and I'm a Stormtrooper junkie. And I saw that beautiful Stormtrooper, that 6-inch Stormtrooper. I said I had to have it, and I ended up having like 10 or 11, 12 of those guys. Because the Sand Trooper, I love that Sand Trooper. Absolutely, Army built that guy. Not all at once, but you know, a little bit here or there. And then I bought a couple of the other figures, and then I was starting to get into it until they did their little Darth Vader thing, and that killed it for me. So, you know,
Big squishy helmet, big squishy helmet with a.
That was just basically, that was probably the most. I wanted to know who the sculptors were that thought that that was a good idea, because that was horrendous. And what's really bad is that you know, I don't mean to jump into 6-inch figures, but that new Vader electrical, you know, the one where the Emperor is electrocuting him, that's a whole new sculpt, that head sculpt. Because the first thing I did when I got that is I made a mold and I cast it to make sure. And doggone it, if it's not a great looking head sculpt for that figure, and they could have put that on their original flagship. I consider that Darth Vader their flagship figure.
Right.
Exactly.
They had to make right. And they screwed it up, all for a removable helmet that they can just switch out. They didn't have to do it the way they did it. But, you know, that basically killed that for me. So Hasbro's not getting any of my money unless they start showing that they are wanting to take the 3 3/4 inch seriously again, and they get some different people to figure out the markets right now. Because games, like Ellie talked about, whoever's telling them games are the future for our toy lines and stuff like that, interaction and stuff like that, kind of, sorta, but it's not yet overtaking the action figure industry.
Right.
And if they did it smarter, and they didn't saturate the market, they claim they saturate the market, but no one ever finds anything. I think that they'd actually do better, and I'd gladly give them my money. You know, Toy Fair, I'm not expecting anything from Toy Fair.
No,
me either.
I'm expecting. I'm looking forward to NECA and a couple others, but Toy Fair, Hasbro, that would surprise me.
I have low expectations.
Yeah.
It is true about the distribution thing. I remember on Force Friday, we waited for like 3 hours just so we could have a front spot, and we go in, and I'm like, where is everything?
Yeah.
I couldn't even find Ray's bike.
Yep.
Yeah.
We had to bounce around that night to try and find everything.
I had the same experience. We were actually on the phone, weren't we?
Yeah.
We were talking the whole time.
Yeah, remember we were in line, and you were talking to Pig, and I'm like, do you have to talk to him? Can we just watch Rebels? Rebels makes everything go faster.
And I had the same experience. We were having the same experience, like, at the same time, and it was like, oh, your mouth is like hitting the ground. You're like, where is everything?
Yeah.
I had this expectation, like, oh, I'm going to get me a BB-8. I'm going to get me a Ray figure.
I know. Remember, we
It
actually
took like a month to get a BB-8.
Oh yeah. We went around for like a month. We went to the same Target. I'm like, come on.
Like, we were hoping to get the Ahsoka Vader 2-pack, the Rebels 2-pack, and that took months to get too. We were hoping to be like the one thing we cared more about that than the Force Awakens stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really disappointing when you got there, and a month later we still didn't have it.
Yeah, Hasbro, good job saturating the market.
Yeah. I had a similar situation, but I didn't go out for the midnight opening or anything. I just decided to go the next morning, right before work. And I walked in Walmart, and they had 2 pallets in an aisle. And it was, oh gosh, let me think of what it was. It was some of the Hot Wheels cars, a few of the minifigures, not minifigures, the die-cast vehicles, and like some game tie-in stuff. But there was not a single action figure. And so I said, oh, okay, so they've hung all the action figures over on the pegs. And I go to the pegs, and there's the like 7 figures that have been hanging there forever. And there was nothing in our store for 4 days. And like Brian was saying, looking for a BB-8 for a month, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
That is crazy. But yeah, the packs with BB-8 were nowhere to be found. He came in that smuggler pack, right?
That was a decent pack. Yeah, they had 3 characters in that pack.
I got that.
And then a net. It
right.
wasn't a bad.
It was cool, though.
Yeah,
Had a nice little
Accessory,
action
right?
feature.
You gotta have an
yeah,
accessory,
I guess.
You
right?
gotta get excited, man. You gotta get excited about something.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I'm trying to find that BB-8 with like Stormtrooper protocols, like letters and numbers, like item A1, 2, 3. It's like, oh my god.
Oh yeah, I had to go up to the counter with the what is the code?
With the
Yeah.
code.
Yeah,
Try
it's
to
like
get it.
And then
Stormtrooper
they brought the
protocols.
box up to the front of the store for us, but otherwise, forget it.
I'm like, oh my god, can we just come back here tomorrow? And you're like, no, we gotta keep looking. I'm like, we've been here for half an hour.
It worked. You walked out with
It was Stormtrooper protocols for half an hour, like A1377. And it's like, oh my god. And it's
But
like
yeah.
that much. It's like I'm going through this much just to find a BB-8. Then we find out it's like a ping pong ball. And yeah, so
how is all these things affecting your customizing?
I've really slowed down myself, which time
think-
has been a concern. I know I've like nearly dropped off the earth, but I've just had work and time constraints. But luckily, I own all the fodder I need to customize for a couple of years, probably. From
Same
the
here.
vintage line and line before that. But yeah, buying new figures to customize, I don't see it as even a possibility. I would have to, like Dayton's saying, you got to go to eBay and get those older figures. I said last year we've already seen probably the best figures ever made already, as far as action figures go.
yeah, I agree. I'm feeling the same way. I would continually buy doubles of the vintage collection since 2011. It started. Didn't it start in 2011? The vintage
Yeah,
collection.
sometime around there.
Yeah.
And I would buy doubles of everything. And there was an article on Jedi Temple Archives last night about how carded versions of the vintage collection figures, and that they're going for mad prices on eBay, and I have boxes and boxes of unopened vintage figures, and I'm like, now I can't open them. Great,
Yeah.
I have to sell them like this. Or
yeah, you're like afraid to use the super articulated figures.
that's absolutely right. That's
And
absolutely right.
remember how like you butchered that Palpatine to make a super articulated one, and then people started hating you?
The Clone Wars.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I made some nice Emperors out of that. Chancellor Palpatine.
Yeah, and I made this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was impressive custom. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. You
No,
gotta
it wasn't.
suffer for your art, man.
He sculpted
That's
hair, I
right.
painted it.
Right.
Sure, your customizing suffers for a little bit. One of the things I do with like commissions and whatnot, I have people help me find the product. If I
commissions.
need a figure or something, I make somebody, help me get it. If I can't find it, I say, can you help me get it, or can you see if a friend has it or something? This specific figure, this specific leg or head or something like that. Because I'm still kind of I'm not all the way what Dayton does, where I strip it down. I'll still kind of Frankenstein it together a little bit, and then maybe I'll sculpt pieces of it. I guess there's certain ways you can go about it, but I try to get people to help me get the product, because my fodder bin is not as big as I would like it to be.
Yeah.
Oh, ours is huge.
Yeah.
And we have so much, we're thinking about selling it.
There you go.
We could give you some.
Sounds good.
Customs for me, it really hasn't really made much of an impact when it comes to it, because I have such a large amount of fodder already purchased thanks to eBay, and I'm just now getting back into sculpting some Star Wars stuff. So, most of my figures are mostly full sculpts these days. I don't really all I need to do is just find something. I don't care where it comes from to give me the articulated joint work that I need, and then I go from there. I take it from there. But I do miss the ease of finding what I needed. It's not easy anymore, and to wait 4 weeks sometimes or more to buy the fodder that I need, because most of the time I don't really figure out what I need until I'm ready to do the project. And that's when I'll go to eBay and purchase a couple of figures, and I have to sit back and wait. So I have to make sure I have other projects ready to go so I can work on those while I'm waiting for the other stuff to come. But it does drag it down a little bit more in terms of getting things sculpted that I'd like to. But, you know, it doesn't have that much of an impact. It has more of an impact with my collecting, which I am a figure collector, and I am, honestly, the Asian markets are getting more of my money these days. You know, Bandai and SH Figure Arts, basically all of them are Bandai. They're getting my money right now. And when it comes to Star Wars, more or less than Hasbro. And Hasbro has that opportunity to pull it back. They just need to come up with better decisions when it comes to their stuff. You know. And it wouldn't be that hard. It really wouldn't be that hard. You know, just dump the whole 6-inch line and say, "Oops, our mistake," and just just go back to articulated vintage, and you literally.
That would be nice.
You would literally, if he was at Toy Fair and he said one of the guys sponsors was saying that for Hasbro, if he would get quiet after he said it, you'd probably hear a big cheer throughout the collectors community.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yes, thank goodness.
People be doing the wave. Woo!
Yeah. So, you know,
It's already starting.
What I was talking about earlier in the show, where I was getting into it with this guy the other night, he was completely the opposite. He was saying something to the effect of what you were saying. You know, everybody's going towards SH Figure Arts, Bandai, Reveltech, all those different places. And this person was, I didn't know the person. He was talking to me on Discus, and he was saying how all the other toy companies, like, you know, all the other toy product lines, like superhero toys, that's where it's at. That's where it's always been. And I was telling him, well, what if they gave Reveltech or somebody else a 3 3/4 inch line? Why can't they do that? Because everybody wants the Star Wars to be 3 3/4 inch, but they just keep, honestly, they keep trying to push us out of 3 3/4 inch, and I think that's what's bringing everybody down for sure. I'm a firm believer that they're just trying to go with trends, and that's disappointing to me, because Star Wars stands apart, and that's bad, because everybody else just wants them to be with them, but that's not what makes them them. You know, 3 3/4 inch is truly. Do you guys feel like I'm wrong for saying that, or
no?
No, I'm with you.
I mean, they're the ones that started the whole, in my opinion, that started the whole craze for that scale,
right?
You know, and it's still, you know, in most markets, it's still something that people crave. You know, I think the Asian markets right now are really just having fun with the idea of doing a 6-inch type scale of figures and all that stuff. Number one, because it's easier to do, and it's a new technology for them, and it's a new avenue for them to go with, and things like that. And they're doing better quality work, you know, because they're putting the money in it and you're paying for it. So, you know, you're getting something better. But Hasbro's been there. They've done that kind of quality work at a smaller scale, and they can go back to it. This whole, you know, idea that they can, I think that, like it's mentioned earlier about that big 6-inch or scaled TIE fighter. I think I said it before. You're never going to see another vehicle out of them, 6-inch scale. I think that this. I think this is.
I don't mind. I'd rather see that money go to 3 3/4 inch. So.
Yeah. It's like, if you're gonna make a TIE fighter, why can't you make a Ghost for 3 3/4 inch?
Correct. I agree.
Exactly.
It's like it's like you put that much plastic into something before. Why can't you do it for another scale?
I think it was an experiment. Honestly, I think they wanted to test the market to see how far a 6-inch collector is going to take it, and now they're warming the shelves, and they can't really come down hard on the price. They're going to lose profit on it. They're not going to make something else, and that was actually a simple one. That was pretty easy to make.
I just noticed the 6-inch in general is cooling. Like, they used to turn over really quickly, and you'd have a hard time finding them. Yeah. Now they're clogging the pegs, which I'm so happy about.
Yeah.
I did notice that customizing. I noticed there's way more 6-inch customizers than there are 3 3/4 inch at this point.
Yeah.
And it worries me because with the 5 POA, it is such a challenge for a new customizer to get out there and start the hobby. Like, it's really only people who have been doing it for a long time at this point, unless it's a 6-inch customizer. But that's so expensive. I don't see them churning out and being like prolific customizers where they're putting something new out all the time, unless they have a huge pocketbook.
Yeah, exactly. They're not going to go out and buy like 10 of one type of figure that's 6 inches. It costs $20 a pop. You know, like what we were used to back in probably about 5-6 years ago, where you can go and get a bunch of figures for probably about $6 to $7 a pop. You know, that had basic, decent articulation, and we can use those as our fodder. 6-inch, yeah, 6-inch scaled customizing. Although I think it's a fun idea, and I think that a lot of people are going to get into it. Any customizer that wants to if you're a new customizer, I don't care what scale you do. You know, if you're having fun with it and you're doing well, that's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more expensive. It's more expensive for them.
Yeah.
And it's a shame.
I tried to articulate the Rebels figures, and
you use up good figures.
yeah, you start wasting great figures to make mediocre figures better. But is it really worth it?
Yeah,
Not really.
you're like cutting up like Cad Bane just so you can get the elbows. Probably one of my favorite pieces ever.
Oh, the Cad Bane elbows?
Yeah, and then we have to use that to make another figure better.
Yeah, like the Sabine. Like I made Sabine with Cad Bane elbows and Clone Wars Aelisacora knees.
Yeah.
But
not easy.
it's like, do you really want to waste these rare figures now?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing right now. I just started a super articulated Zeb. I don't know why I've gotten into Zeb for some reason, but I know exactly what you're talking about. You cut something off and apply it to these new kind of, they're almost like molded, just really generically molded figures, and you cut them apart and they're just like, they almost disintegrate on you. They're kind of strange. They're not as good of a quality as the other stuff was, the vintage collection and whatnot. Even the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars figures are so beautiful. They're so beautiful.
Maybe the new ones are biodegradable or something.
Maybe. Who knows? Yeah.
Made out of
cornstarch.
Yeah.
Like in Doctor Who, there was that guy who built this huge rocket ship out of gluten extract.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're cutting it out somehow. And they're using a weird plastic. It's almost.
Yeah, and that Happivore thing, that's like a latex. That's such an unstable material. You said it was really
they said don't put it in light.
Yeah, and that Jabba, we left it out. We picked it up and just to put a better Jabba down, and we noticed the bottom of it was liquidy.
Yeah.
It was
wow.
It was actually but that was Hasbro's Peak. So it didn't make
Jabba
sense.
is that? Was that the
Walmart one? That exclusive?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I had mine in a box with a couple of other figures from returning it from the Jabba's palace, and they were stuck to Jabba's tail.
Oh,
no way!
Yeah, and I just hit them with a hair dryer a little bit and pull, because I didn't want to remove plastic or paint or whatever, and I just hit them with a hair dryer a little bit and separated them.
Which Jabba was this that you're talking
that
about?
That Walmart Jabba with the throne.
It was a nice Jabba. But
yeah.
Oh, that one.
But that, whatever type of plastic or rubber, technically, because that's a really rubber.
Yeah, it's a latex rubber.
I think it's going to break down really quick.
Yeah. They give latex a 10-year lifespan. That's it.
It's going to deteriorate.
Probably why they made that new one. I mean, the new one's okay in the Toys R Us exclusive.
I think the new one's really nice. They really got his profile. They really got his face correctly. Because all the other Jabbas, they kind of took his face and squished it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's actually probably one of their 3D printed pieces, like you were talking about earlier, because they just literally reduced the scale and reprinted it at a smaller scale. They were able to give you a 3 3/4 inch version of it, which is cool.
That's what that's the 6-inch Jabba reduced, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's exactly
what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah. That's their new system. You know, that's the way they're going. Do any of you used ZBrush at all? That's the program that they're using right now.
I don't like 3D printing. It gets like lines and
They have a
like
$1 million 3D printer. They're not getting lines.
I don't know.
If it's the home 3D printer, yeah, you're gonna experience that. But
Yeah.
with the one they have, all your figures that you just got, Force Awakens, would have lines in them. That was the issue.
Oh wait, those are all 3D printed.
Yeah.
They don't look it.
Every single one is.
That's their new system. They, the person who did sculpt all their previous figures, or the main guy, he's still
Big
in charge.
Boss Studios, whatever.
No.
Okay.
The guy at Hasbro.
David Vittemeyer?
Yeah, that's him.
Yep.
Yeah. I met him a couple times. He's a really great guy.
Yes, he is. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he grew up in my hometown in Cincinnati. But he's still in charge, and I'm guessing that they just do the 3D stuff now, specifically, and they don't have, like Boss Fight or what is it, Four Horsemen? Is that who those people were? Those sculptors, those people that they would come in and they would do it from scratch. And even Dave did the majority of the characters previous to them getting that program, and it's kind of disappointing that you don't see that handmade thing anymore.
Yeah, it's a shame.
That handmade quality. Like when we see your work, any of your work, you can see your signature on it. It's a personalized kind of thing. And with the 3D stuff, it just feels like it just feels very stale, very like a
generic.
Yeah, like there's no heart into it. That's kind of how I feel, but
I tell you where I appreciate the 3D printing is when it comes to stuff like hardware or mechanics and stuff like that. If they, for example, I'm all into this the Agassi, I think that's how you say it, the Millennium Falcon, the subscription thing. You get parts each. You get when you're done building it. It's like a studio scaled one, right? So I'm all into that. Well, I know that like Shapeways sells parts to that are 3D printed, and I actually purchased a piece for it, and it came in. It looks absolutely incredible. It's smooth. It's like a piece of resin. It's really nice, high quality, and you pay for it. But I'd love Hasbro to do stuff like that for their, if they were to make vehicles and stuff like that. That'd be cool.
Right.
I would still always love them to sculpt their figures, though. Yeah, it'd be great, And one of the things is, I asked Randy over at NECA, you guys got sculptors over there, right? Because I want to work for you one day. I keep kidding about it. He says, yeah, we still have sculptors here. We hand sculpt our stuff. He said, we do use 3D printing for certain things like weaponry and stuff like that, mechanics. Sure. But when it comes to the actual figures and the bucks that they use, they still sculpt. And you can see it. You can see it, and you can usually look at the sculpt and say, I know who sculpted this, one of their artists. I know who sculpted this because I can tell. And in Hasbro, it's kind of sort of gone, even though I never knew the exact sculptor who had sculpted. I knew it was sculpted. You can tell. You can tell. But that's all over with now. It's mostly just all 3D rendering, which I'm not knocking the 3D artists. I'm not knocking 3D rendering, but it's a tech that many people can learn and, and pick up and do. Whereas I think sculpting was a particular skill that you get better with over time.
Right. Right.
It's like any other art form.
Yeah. Custom-wise, I feel like for myself, I've gotten better. I started customizing back in the 90s and just got better over time, added a little bit here and there. I didn't even start sculpting until 2010, I think. It was even later, like 2011 or something.
Yeah, I remember we introduced you to it.
Yeah. You helped me decide that I would like.
And then
Well, he was hard sculpting.
Yeah.
He just wasn't using like a sculpting medium.
And then we told you about green stuff. You told you almost threw it across the room or something.
Yeah. It was not easy. It was at first. It was not easy for me.
You gotta use water. You gotta use water else it gets sticky.
Don't listen to him though. He doesn't.
Listen to him. He's the.
Hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
I just think over time you learn a lot of things, and your figures get better over time. Even you, Brian, you know, some of your figures, you know, you go back to them, don't you?
I'll go back to a figure 3-4 times, but
Oh yeah.
I kind of had to do it differently because, like, at the end of the day, I have to have something playable for this guy. Not so much now. He's getting older, so it's not as big a deal. He's
If it's not ready by the end of the day, because I know what it's like. Since I'm customizing now, if it's not done by the end,
Yeah.
But
makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, for the longest time, like, I just had to have something done in 8 hours. But, you know, then you walk away from it like, oh, this looks terrible. So then, you know, every time you walk by it on the shelf, you're like, I can't look at this anymore. So then you go back and you tweak it a little more. So yeah, there's some figures I've gone like 4 times before, you know, I'm like, okay, I can move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, customizing going forward, you know, I'll probably fill out Jabba's. I'll probably try to fill out the Cantina a bit. I'm probably not gonna customize a lot of characters from the future movies, and, you know, Disney Star Wars. Maybe I'll do a little here and there.
Disney Star Wars is weird. Like, they didn't use any of the original alien species.
Yeah, I'll probably still mess with Clone Wars a lot, based on what's available from Tung Hori on for fodder and stuff like that. But I mean, going forward, I don't, you know, I don't see myself venturing very far into the new material.
Yeah.
And I am going to be very cautious about the newer figures, or the super articulated figures from the vintage line or the Build-A-Droid line that I still have. I'm going to be very cautious about what I use and make sure that if I am going to use something like that, it's for something that's really worth it and a character I really want. Because at this point, I feel guilty damaging good figures.
Yeah. Future for customizing in Star Wars for me is literally I feel the same way you do, Brian. I'm not really into the Force Awakens characters that much. I think that we got a lot of character building to do, especially in the creatures. I'm sure that the universe will expand on all that stuff by the time we're into the second movie. You know, my hope is probably Star Wars. You know, Rogue One might spark my interest into more original trilogy type stuff.
Yeah.
Because it will bring back that original trilogy feel. Because you're going to have it, you know, prior to A New Hope. That's when it's supposed to take place, I believe.
Yep.
Right now, for me, it's expanded universe. I still call it the EU. I don't care if they call it Legends. To me, it's the EU.
European Union?
You know, all the characters from the Dark Horse comics and stuff, I'm still hooked on those. Republic, Legacy, all those comics I still fall in love with. I read them Dark Times. I love to read them. They always inspire me. And that's the stuff that I'm going to be continuing to create. And I'll get more and more questions from new customizers or new fans. They'll say, I've never seen that character before and stuff like that. So, you know, you have to go back and say, well, it's in the Legacy thing that was once EU a long, long time ago, you know.
I think they call it Legends now.
Legends, whatever.
Back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. I still challenge Disney to come up with some interesting, at least one interesting character that can beat any of those guys, because, you know, there's so many interesting characters in the EU that
you hear the Thrawn rumors. Do you hear?
Yeah. They can pick and choose who they want to bring out of the EU to bring it back into the you know, the Star Wars canon. You know, if they want to, but you know.
Well, I think the canon is a farce anyway, because I'm convinced they want to have nothing to do with the Clone Wars. Like, absolutely nothing to do with the Clone Wars. I have a feeling we'll never see it again or never hear from it. Like, if you looked at the preview on Rebels, you know, Anakin looks completely different than he did in the Clone Wars. He's got some kind of different, I don't know, have you seen that, has anybody seen that Season 2
Yeah, it looks
preview?
weird. It's not the
Yeah, he looked
traditional guy
strange,
robe.
didn't he? A
Yeah,
lot.
it's like a jacket or something. Like
Yeah, like
too
he
Oh,
had a
but
coat on
that
or
was
something.
explained. Dave Filoni said that was a budget constraint, and he had to simplify the clothing for it to fit within the budget constraints that Disney had given him.
Budget constraints. Oh my.
Budget
Budget
So when you
constraints.
think about it,
Disney?
like George used to throw tons of money into Clone Wars.
Yeah, he did.
And I think their budget by Disney for Rebels was reduced by like 2/3 of what they were getting for Clone Wars.
Wow, man.
So he's doing like a lot on a significantly less budget. So that's why maybe the scenery is more sparse. There's not as many characters, and
Yeah.
he doesn't have the money.
Well, it's not that the character. There's still a lot of characters. I think they're just taking the same character and applying different colors. Like you'll see, like Marcus Tua with brown hair 5 million times in an episode.
He did that in Clone Wars too. I mean, you saw a lot
Yeah,
of
I
people
remember.
with different colors.
There was this one episode where there was this pirate wearing a blue hat and like a silver chest plate. This episode on Nal Hutta, the Rico Hardin arc. If you look closely, you can see the same pirate 3 times in the same shot.
Right.
It's kind of funny. It's like the Punzignat of the episode. It's like, okay, how many times can I find the pirate?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's our favorite character, isn't it?
Punzignat.
Yep.
Where is he?
He's that Aquilish guy that had the, he had the orange jacket on, kind of the Morgan Mindy vest.
Yeah, I remember him.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Gobble.
Oh man, the episode that they're talking about, he's blatantly in there like conversing with himself like 3 or 4 times, like like there's clones of him everywhere, and they're just talking to each other and everything, and it's hilarious. But for me, for the future, I guess I'm just gonna keep doing Clone Wars stuff, and I want to try to branch out and do some of like Jabba's henchmen. That's kind of my I haven't really done much of that, so I'm trying to do a little bit more of the Cantina. I'm trying to do a little bit more of the Jabba's pirates and stuff. Ali, you've definitely you've made a ton of those, man. And I just look at all your stuff, and I'm like, man, I want to do that.
Reference photos.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun. I love those guys.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm going. I'll do commissions if people work with me, if they'll want to help me find stuff and I can find product. Certainly not going to stop with the Clone Wars. I got it right behind me there. I love the Clone Wars, and there's just endless characters, kind of like your EU. I mean, there's endless characters that you can do in the Clone Wars, and I've done, over 100 now, over 100 unique Clone Wars characters.
Awesome.
It's crazy, and there's still so many to do. There's still so many to do, and that's great. That's what I love about background characters and whatnot. And I just don't think they're going to focus on any background characters.
Well, even the way the movie was shot for Force Awakens, you didn't have the establishing shots.
Yeah.
You didn't do that pan and scan across the room to really take in all the hard work that everybody had done on the alien makeups and stuff.
Well, when you look at the alien makeup,
that may even be why we're not inspired to customize that stuff, because the camera just moved by too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at the aliens, I don't even think they put hard work into it. One of them just looked like a blob of silicone on somebody's face. and it wasn't even symmetrical. It had a big. It was probably
some stuff was better than others, but everything had that old people skin look to it.
Yeah. Everything was muddy. They had muddy paint jobs, and everything was a brownish gray, no life, no color in it.
They had a couple of cool Muppet-looking things, though, in Maz's, I felt, but...
Not very many.
Well, they just didn't spend enough time showing you everybody. The camera, like I said, the camera went too fast.
Yeah, you didn't spend any time with anyone. You didn't get a good feel for the environment. Watching the Clone Wars, you could make 5 or 6 characters out of each
Episode.
each episode.
Easily.
I didn't leave The Force Awakens. I enjoyed the movie, enjoyed the movie, but I didn't leave there feeling like, oh, I'm going to go home and make this. I've got to have this. I didn't really leave there feeling like that. Some of the coolest things were like the Jakku, battleship graveyards. It's not an easy thing to build a diorama of,
Yeah.
Not something it's as cool as it is, not something I want to look at on my shelf every day. So the future of customizing for me, it's kind of a good question because I've slowed down a lot. Do a few, I do a handful of commissions, and I'm slow at doing it, just because of time constraints. I'll probably still be making, a handful of things that I've always been inspired by, and that's the original trilogy. I've been rewatching the Clone Wars, and man, I could easily get into making Clone Wars characters. There's so many cool characters.
Yeah.
But future of customizing for me is probably finishing old projects and using things that I've bought that I bought at a time when I was making a lot of things and didn't have time to complete ideas, and I set them aside. That's what I'll be going back to, using fodder I already have. That's probably where the future's at for me right there.
Yeah. And as far as collecting, you guys are all. Dayton, you said you're going towards the Asian stuff. Ellie, are you going to do any more collecting?
Collecting for me, I'm cherry picking things. I would if they made quality 3 3/4 figures, I would be back all over it. I cherry pick mostly original trilogy characters from the 6-inch line, and I've gone to the Asian market just like Dayton. I've gotten into the Bandai model kits. The details are amazing, and they're super fun. And we're homeschooling Jackson now, and I'm starting to incorporate some of these Bandai kits into art classes. We just made BB-8 for
cool.
his art class.
That is cool.
That is neat.
And he's like, and he absolutely,
Let's get about homeschool.
he
Yeah.
doesn't have the
Homeschool
patience for models really, but he absolutely loved it. He's 12 years old. And when we were halfway done with BB-8, he's like, "Are we building R2-D2 tomorrow?" So that was cool. I love these model kits.
How hard is it to build that R2? The R2 and the R5D4, are they hard to
at all?
build? Are they snapped together, or are they glued together?
They snap fit. And you can just snap fit and build them for fun, or you can take a modeler's approach and paint everything and glue everything and weather details.
Ron.
You can choose whether Ron
goes crazy with it.
Man, Ron Himble just made a Scout Trooper where he covered all the fabric parts that should be fabric with black stockings. It is
cool.
unreal. I mean, it looks like a Sideshow or Hot Toys figure to me. In his photos, you can't. The scale just disappears. But yeah, I really enjoy those kits, and I started just snap fitting in them and things. But they're so fun to build. It's hard to stop and do the things you need to do. You just want to get it built.
Yeah.
And then, so I've just kind of got them built, and then I go back and detail them once they're built.
Yeah, I'm army building those troopers, man. I love those stormtroopers.
I know you are. Yeah. I got 2 of those, and I've got to get on the Sand Troopers now.
They're cool. Sand Troopers are awesome.
Sand Troopers and Scout Troopers are next.
Yeah, I have the R2 and the R5 set, but I've not even opened
That's
it.
great.
Not even opened it yet,
Great.
and I'm just like, I don't know if I'm intimidated by it or what, but I definitely want to build it because I had heard from somebody that the size was more proportionate to the 6-inch. So that's
They
why
are.
I bought them. That's
They
why I
are.
bought them, and I was like, I guess I got to build these, and hopefully, you know, I'll certainly paint them and whatnot myself, but
Yep.
you know, I've yet to build them. So the models are there's figures as well. There's like not just robots.
You have to get the C3PO. The
Oh,
C3PO. That's what started it for me, because I've been waiting for Hasbro, you know, and
constantly
not
waiting
giving us
for
the C3PO.
Hasbro.
And then when they do, it's not going to be vac metalized. So
Yeah.
that was what started it. I got C3PO, R2D2, and R5. And,
Wow.
And that's C3PO. He's amazing. He's my favorite so far.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I have some of the 6-inch too. I mean, but I just see all the problems that they're going to have with them, you know, paint wise, and I don't mean to get off track a little bit, but I do collect some of the 6-inch, but just seeing like where's this accessory and where's that accessory, and just those same old games are going to pull me. It's pull me right out of 6-inch because.
Plus, they're not going to get deep into the line.
That's
Yeah.
They're
right.
just not going to get deep into the character line. It's too much money for them to do that. But what really disappoints me a lot with the 6-inch line is that they kept teasing about, you know, they did Han Solo from A New Hope, then they did Luke Skywalker and X-wing gear from A New Hope. They kept on teasing us from. They never do a core group of A New Hope. They haven't.
Mm.
I've always was hoping that they would concentrate on getting all the characters from A New Hope, the
Right.
gang that we are all aware of, done and out of the way. But we still have yet to get an Obi-Wan Kenobi from it. Or the Vader's horrific. Who else? They don't have a Leia yet.
No
although they
Leia.
keep teasing.
No
Yeah, there's
Leia.
no Leia. Their Luke just now came out in China. They were selling it on eBay, and he's kind of okay.
Oh,
Yeah, he's been released. So, but again, I think their best figures they released early on in the first wave. I think their Sand Trooper, their Boba Fett, the Han was pretty decent, and that Slave Leia was not bad. Even though some people say the buck of the frame was kind of awkward, I think they did all right for what they had. But anyway, no.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the 6-inch customizing anyway, so I don't care. I just
Yeah, me either. You won't be doing any 6-inch customs. It's just not going to happen. And if I do, I did get one of the white, an extra one of the white, all white Boba Fett because I want to do, you know, I'm a droids nut, so I want to do the droids Boba Fett
you're gonna do.
on the white one. I've seen it. I've seen you got, you know, have you done it, Ellie? Did you do the droids?
No, I haven't. I hadn't done that droid.
Somebody
I
had
forget the
done
name
it.
of the
But
customizer.
Jason Krabesh from Yak Face, he
Right.
bought
it.
off of somebody.
yeah.
And I'm a droids nut, so I gotta do that one in 6-inch form, but I still haven't actually got around to it. I haven't opened a single one of my 6-inch yet. That's the other problem. You know, I pull them out for a minute, and I'm just like, well, I'm gonna put them back in the box. Oh, yeah. But
Yeah, we only have the Boba Fett and the Rey, and that's it.
Yeah.
And I only bought the Rey because we couldn't find the BB-8 anywhere, and he wanted a BB-8 bad that day.
You know, I do.
I just needed some form of BB-8.
Yeah, I do have to say that there are some customizers out there that are repainting those head sculpts and the 6-inch. And I was talking to one of the customizers the other day on Instagram. I told him, I said, dude, this will make me go buy it because if you can bring out that kind of detail in the paintwork,
Yeah.
I know that it's worth the time for me to go out and buy it and have it. You know, of course, it's 6-inch. You know,
yeah.
but the quality is there. It's just that it's not. Hasbro's not wanting to, put the effort into it. And, I have to say, after talking with guys over at NECA for so long about, we put out quality figures, we want the best quality out there, but when it goes to China to be mass-produced, we have no control over it at that point. The paintwork and everything, when it comes back and it's ready to ship, we have 2 quality control checks. And the second quality control check, whatever it turns out to be, is what it's going to be. and there's nothing we can do about it at that point. So I think Hasbro has that same vice too. You know, when they go mass produce it, they got probably 1 or 2 quality checks. Whatever that last check comes in, me working for a manufacturing company know that too. Anything that's manufactured in China, we got only a couple times to check it out, and then whatever comes on that boat, we're stuck with it. We have to fly with it. So, you know, it's a shame that the paint work is so bland and dull and sloppy, but an artist that can grab hold of it and put their energy into it really turn out what was originally intended to be. I think those 6-inch figures do have the potential of being really nice figures. They just you gotta get rid of all that ugly paint that's on it. But you know, and I did say that I wasn't going to do any 6-inch figures customs, but I am considering doing probably like core GI Joe. I've been brainstorming on if I was to do 6-inch figures, what I'd do. I'd probably do like a core 1980s GI Joe line.
You know, I said that same thing. I was like, you know what would be great in 6-inch form? The 80s GI Joe.
It would be.
Yeah, you know, like straight up make them look as good as they did.
Yeah.
Make them. I was saying that back in like remember when the Metal Gear Solid toys came out? That was back in like 99, 2000. Yeah. I kept looking at those, and I'm like, look at all those guns and look at all those weapons they have. I'm like, G.I. Joe would excel at that. But once again, they go and they take somebody else's toy line. They take Star Wars, and they experiment with that. I'd even love Renegades. You know, were you guys fans of Renegades?
G.I. Joe Renegades was awesome.
Indeed. Yeah,
man,
that was great.
Man, if they would have had a chance to reboot G.I. Joe, that would have been it. That would have been it. Yeah. Renegades. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I agree with you. G.I. Joe would be awesome at as a 6-inch. Because it goes back to that you know, the dolls. You know.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we're talking about customs. The Joe customizer right now really got screwed over by Hasbro because they basically dead the line completely. They just literally just stopped it and just dropped it, and that's a shame because I was actually collecting the new lines. They were doing a superb job with the sculpting and the accessories and all that stuff. They were doing a great job, but then all of a sudden it's just I don't know what happened. They just dropped it. I guess they lost one of their executives that was basically I can't remember his name, but he was a big Joe fanatic when it came to the lines. Yeah,
Daryl the Priest?
Yes, I think when he left.
Yeah,
when he left, the Joe line just died.
And
it left all the customizers out in the cold. Now, there's a great bunch of Joe customizers still doing great work, but I can tell you, I bet they're having a hard time right now, you know, getting it, you know, the figures they need and whatever.
Yeah. Unless they stockpile, like we do.
Well, that was the movie that did that, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that was the movie that did that. They were like, you know, they were just completely ignoring Renegades, which was completely rebooting the 80s G.I. Joe cartoon, and I was a fan of Renegades.
It was awesome.
So Renegades is good.
You see those figures, and how much were they? They were $11, $12, and you're just like, oh my God, what?
And did you see how many accessories came with that Storm Shadow?
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and he's amazing. He was amazing, you know, but it was because of that movie. They had to keep raising the price because they wanted to excel at their own product, I feel. Hasbro specifically wanted to excel at their own product, so they completely raised the price or price gouge. And I think it carried on into Star Wars because they no longer have their G.I. Joe going, you know?
I think it's strange, like, you know, Clone Wars used to have its own toy line, and then you had your realistic line. Now they just pepper in a Rebels figure in every wave, like one figure, whether it's the Rex or the Fifth Brother. They're not really even dedicating themselves to a Rebels TV show line.
Yeah, nothing.
Oh man, yeah, Rebels is not getting any love. And if you're a Rebels fan, you gotta wait and wait and wait. And
you barely even get the figures when they came out last year. They weren't even out in time.
Yeah, I hear you.
Hey guys, I've got to get ready and check out.
I don't know. Is there anything else that we feel we need to cover?
Has to do with the Snoke conspiracies are?
No, that's not it. Let's stay on topic.
What if Snoke is just Snoke? Oh my god.
Wow. That's another. Yeah, we can do that next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, is there anything else that they want to add to the conversation about as far as Hasbro customizing and?
I think we've covered it. I mean, honestly,
I didn't look at the outline, but I think we've.
I think we hit everything for the most part. Yeah, I think the only thing we didn't mention was like with the,
Yeah, I feel everything is been covered pretty much, or less. Are you saying you want to maybe
wrap it?
Yeah,
we could. I mean, we could. That way, if Ellie's leaving and we figure we got everything, I don't want to make you guys
We've been on for like hour and a half now.
Yeah.
Yeah, going on.
You want to do like a final thoughts, or you have time for that, Ellie, real quick?
Unfortunately, I've got to run.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, man.
But,
we'll do a quick final thoughts after Ellie leaves.
You guys.
Cool.
And we'll have to do it again sometime.
Have a good night.
All right, thanks a lot. You guys have fun.
See ya.
Bye.
Okay. So, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. You want me to start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I definitely, for myself, I definitely think customizing will still go on, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for sure. I will definitely collect, but I'm like Ellie just said, I'm going to cherry pick for sure.
Yeah.
The new stuff, the new toys. If it inspires me, I'll get it. That includes 6-inch. I think definitely with 6-inch, it's kind of a bummer that they're trying to focus so hard on 6-inch when they know we want 3 3/4 inch more than we do, and I think it would do their company a service if they just went back and focused equally with 3 3/4 inch and 6-inch, and I just don't think that's what's happening. So that's where I'm at. What about you, Dayton?
As far as a customizer goes, as the customizing goes, I'm steady as she goes when it comes to my work. It's not going to influence me one way or another, really. I think that I know what I need to get and use. I don't think that that's going to become harder to find. I think that eBay is the place where you're going to get most of your fodder. I am going to miss being able to go to the store and pick it up. It is going to slow things down a little bit when it comes to my customizing, although I have enough fodder to last me a while. As far as a collector, I'm telling you, I'm so disappointed with Hasbro because it's not the fact that people will say, well, the stuff they're coming out with is we might not have gotten it. You'd be happy you got it. Well, that's not what I'm thinking. Star Wars has such potential, and I don't know why they decided to go with a 6-inch line. That anger is still inside, that anger that I had when I first heard that they were doing it, because I knew that was going to split up the ability to keep a good faith with the 3 3/4 fans. It was going to split thing away, and now what we have is what I was afraid of. We have more focus on the 6-inch line than we do with the 3 3/4 line. The quality is is better with the 6-inch line, but if they were to take all that money that they have invested and put it back in the 3 3/4 inch line, I would come back to them. I would come back to them wholeheartedly and purchase whatever they have to offer when it comes to better articulation. I'd be a collector of Hasbro stuff again. Right now, I don't have one. Other than some 6-inch figures and stuff, I don't have one 3 3/4 inch Hasbro line figure. It stopped at vintage and it hasn't started up again.
Wow.
So they need to refocus what is important and be honest at Toy Fair. Just say it. We're killing off the 3 3/4 inch line, or it's going to be 5 POA from here on out.
That's what I want. So we can get off the fence. Yeah.
Stop playing around with this. Oh well, we'll release in limited quantities
dancing
at one
around
store
right,
for $20 a pop.
Yeah, right.
Just don't do that to us. Just go ahead. on a side note, I think all these figures that you're seeing that are articulated, what worries me is that was probably from an original line that they were producing before someone came in the office and said, "Hey guys, let's shut this down and go to 5 POA on everything."
They changed their mind. Yep.
Yeah, we'll just release these on limited basis at a store somewhere.
I agree completely. I think
so. We may not see any more super articulated after this wave. I think
I feel the same way.
I'm worried about that. So my final thoughts are: get your facts straight, be honest with the customer, and move forward with something. Commit to it and move forward, because a Millennium Falcon Nerf shooter, you ain't getting my money, man.
No, it's hot dog shooter.
Yeah. Hot dog shooter. Yeah.
How about you, Brian?
For us, I feel like we really filled out the George Lucas collection to the point where we really can't fill it out much more. It's only going to be customs going forward. As far as product from Hasbro, we'll probably just grab the last of the Rebels figures that trickle out, and that's it.
Yeah.
We're done. They kind of lost us as customers.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because we were enthusiastic, shoppers.
Yeah.
And to beat that out of us, I mean, that used to be something we'd do. We'd hang out, we'd see what figures we can get when we were out, and now they took the love. They took away the love. It's 6-inch. We're never gonna go there. It's something they never sold us on. I got the Boba Fett because it looked good. I got him the Rey because he wanted the BB-8, but I bought the Rey very reluctantly, and I definitely would not invest in any other 6-inch figures. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep doing some customizing for the to keep the blog going, but outside of that, I don't really see much more happening from us.
Yeah, there used to be a point when I would say, well, Toy Fair, they may surprise us. I don't know. They're not going to surprise us.
Anymore.
No, it's going to be dry. It's going to be dull. It's going to be a bunch of 5 POAs, and people are going to go, oh, nice, and that's about it. That's as much excitement as you're going to get out of it. And it's Star Wars. That's what bugs me so much.
Oh, man.
Is that Star Wars. And then people are going to go ho-hum, when they walk by it, because it's just, golly, they're just so cheap, in my opinion.
Have you heard the story about how they're not going to have Rogue One toys at Toy Fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did it international, but they're not going to have anything shown here, and it's just, just not even show up. Just
don't
keep
even
the
come.
Star Wars toys at home.
Don't even come. Yeah.
Stop wasting our time. I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to have equality. Yeah, equality for their toys. They want superhero stuff to have some limelight space.
And that ain't going to last forever either. People are going to start getting tired of that.
I am already.
Yeah. I am interested. What keeps me interested is how they interpret comic book characters into real life. That doesn't get old with me. I'm looking forward to Deadpool. I'm looking forward to. I want to see how they do it, but it ain't making me going out and buying the figures and inspiring me to get all this stuff. And that stuff's going to get old real fast, and people are going to start wanting to, I think, come back to the core lines, that 3 3/4 lines that always used to encourage and fascinate kids, and that's Star Wars and G.I. Joe. Yeah. They were the originators, and they should always be like a staple. But especially now with Star Wars, golly, they say they're coming out with all these movies, and they're putting out mediocre crap.
Right.
It just kills me.
Yeah, they're limited to the character choices, too. Why does everything have to be a main character these days?
I think they want to do minimal investment and huge, return.
And speaking of the hot dog shooter again, they're actually coming out with another major vehicle that's going to be another an AT-AT Nerf shooter.
What? For real?
An AT-AT hot dog shooter?
Is it a Rebels toy, or?
No, it's going to be smaller. Do you remember how they did the Slave One? They come out with a great big Slave One, and all of a sudden they came out with the smaller pack Slave One. They're going to do the same thing with the AT-AT. They're going to come out with a smaller little AT-AT with a Nerf shooter on it.
I did hear that a one-seater cockpit. One-seater cockpit.
Wow, that's even worse than that one over there. That little.
That one wasn't a bad one, the Power of the Force one.
The Power of the Force one's nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. That's
I was very. I mean, yeah, they upped their game, but that was nice.
we grew
I
up
still
with
have
that.
mine. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that piece.
Yeah.
That's a 6-seater.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable where they're going, where they're heading.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, hopefully, maybe one day they'll see this. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But
They never will.
yeah,
Let's just say the whole reason we're doing this podcast is because they're not, and we're young.
well, it's not to, we're not trying to demonize Hasbro
No,
or
no.
anything.
But-
They have done some amazing things. Amazing things. It's
I
just,
mean,
I wish
obviously,
we could get back.
we invested a lot of money in it, so they were doing something right.
All
but-
of us have. All of us
Yeah.
have, and I think that's what they're missing. People, collectors with rooms like you have sitting there, they want to connect the past with the present, and they just don't want to allow us to do that. They want us to just take all that and say, oh, just throw it all out. Just throw it all out. We want you to start all over and do 6-inch.
It's not realistic.
That's what's trending. It's not. It isn't realistic. It's not. It's not realistic because people don't want it for starters.
Yeah.
I want 3 3/4 inch for my new movies because that's how it is. That's what fits with.
I think the 6-inch was them hoping to bring in people that didn't already have all this and had nothing but wanted to jump in on a new collection.
Sure.
And you will get a few people like that.
Yeah.
But they're very small number compared to the 3 3/4 inch collectors that have always been here.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So Hasbro, if you do see it, food for thought.
Hasbro, if you're watching this right now, you better listen.
And I do hope that we still will see new artists popping up over the years for customizing.
Chances are.
Under hopefully they aren't discouraged by the lack of materials.
There's
And,
certainly a lot of figures to make. There's certainly characters that you can constantly
easily.
look to and make, and it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Lots of fun.
Yeah. So.
And who knows? It's reminds me of the days back 95, 96, 97. There's could be a surgence of really good 5 POA customizers. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds discouraging in a way because you're going to say, "Oh, wow, they're not articulated," but they were like that at one point. I remember seeing being on the forums at Rebel Scum way back in the day, when there was mostly 5 POA customs, and they did really good jobs with them. So we're going to see a lot of that probably too. With the new customizers coming out, and I hope that that older customizers that see it give them props for it because they really don't have much of a choice. Not
only that, it's more work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They gotta make it look almost better because they're basically in a static pose.
Yeah.
So we might see more of that coming up. In 3/4 inch customizing, whereas the higher end's going to be in the 6-inch scale in customs. So we'll see. Maybe they'll come all around and they'll find the error of their ways, and Hasbro will say, "Let's go back to full articulation," and that's a hopeful thing. But
well, I noticed with that new Akbar, they make it so his mouth moves, so it looks like maybe they're starting to listen where they are making was it Tessu Leach? Is that his name?
Tessu Leach,
the guy from the raid.
Yeah.
He has an actual plastic apron, so there's no T-crotch. So maybe they are,
Yeah.
Maybe that mouth opening Admiral Akbar. I just looked at it and felt like I need to throw him a fish or something. You just look at a big dolphin come out of the water.
Yeah.
I did not think that. I don't understand why they did that. I'm sitting there going, what was the purpose? Because he didn't scream in the movie.
No.
Something like that. So I'm sitting there going, what's the purpose of that? Maybe they're just, some guy was just sitting around saying, we have some extra dollars to blow on this figure, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to put any articulated elbows on it. I'll have an opening mouth. Yay!
Yeah. Little tricks, little silly little things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just all their innovations. At least they put the ball and peg head in the new figures. I felt like they listened to us on that. The peg where you can snap the head on. That's a great innovation. That's a fantastic innovation, and they kept it, which is cool because
Yeah.
they were going back to the head or the neck attached to the head with those first 5 POA stuff.
And
Like
those 3-packs, those battle pack ones.
the first ones that came out, like the Revenge of the Sith ones and whatnot, the Anakin, the Obi-Wan, the Clone Trooper, the necks, everything was attached. Now, with the Force Awakens stuff, they at least have ball and peg heads, which is good in my opinion. So at least they listen to that. But ripping all the innovations out was the initial problem of what went wrong. In my opinion, their innovations. We've celebrated their innovations over the years, and it's just unbelievable how they can just take it all away. It's like taking the wheels off your car.
That is it. It's just a box.
Try to drive, right? Try to drive without your wheels, or try to drive without a steering wheel or doors or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like you can't do that, and it's and they don't care. They don't really seem to care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's nothing but Nerf. That's about it.
It's got a fire
for
gun.
vehicles. I was hoping for at least one really true size vehicle.
Oh,
and
man.
we were so spoiled. I miss it
we
so
were.
badly.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were constantly getting so many cool things, man, and we're all for it. And there's that quiet, understanding that, we're gonna make them for kids, but they're not for kids.
Yeah.
They were for us. They were for us for the most part. For the most part, I mean, the character selection is what I'm talking. I'm referring to.
Kids
they
didn't
are.
want to most step. We did.
They are for kids. They are for kids. Kids get into it. But they didn't make Yarna de Gargan for a kid.
Yeah.
No.
True story. Her character's name in the credits of Star Wars is still, unfortunately, Fat Dancer. In Return of the Jedi. Yeah, it says Fat Dancer, and then it says the actress's name.
Wow.
Man.
Just terrible. But
What did you think those were? Rolls?
yeah, I don't know.
Those weren't rolls.
Nope.
No. That's
Nope, they
hilarious. Mm.
But I'd say that we're gonna have another podcast in the future, but I doubt we will.
Well, let's talk about the snow conspiracy and how stupid it is.
Well, not today. But yeah, so that's our show. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope
Before we go, I do want to say one thing, that Peak-OB1, you're a really cool customizer, and I've always looked up to, and
Thanks, buddy.
YouTube did, and I remember when I started, and I was like, I wish I could make stuff like this by 30, because I saw how awesome your sculpts were.
Awesome, dude. Thank you, man.
And I really, really look up to you guys.
Appreciate it, dude. Thank you.
And one day maybe I'll let you take more than a hand.
Too, man. Yeah.
Which I don't know why you said that you don't customize.
I customize. It's just like there are really a few customs that you give me credit for.
You work on my customs. I always have you prime, paint, and do almost all the work on my customs. So all I have to do is like the last hour of work.
Yeah.
So I think if you was like you do all the things that the only thing I don't let you do is the power tool stuff. But that's because I don't want your mom yelling at me for getting like a hole in your finger.
One day you're gonna have all the power tools, and you're gonna be doing it too.
Yeah. I just don't. I don't want you putting like the Dremel through your hand or something.
Why would I do that?
But I let you. Yeah. There's certain tools on there that I worry about putting a hole in my finger. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some tools in there that I'm like, how does my dad use this without being scared?
Oh, I'm scared.
I got so many war
I'm
wounds.
scared.
I'll tell you.
I'm very careful because I'm scared.
You can cut yourself all the time. I work with knives all the time at my day job, and you can cut yourself very easily. You got to be careful. With how you customize, even with how you customize. But
I've drawn blood for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember there was this one custom you were working with an X-Acto knife and you couldn't stop cutting yourself with it.
Yeah, it was
And you
that.
had to bandage your fingers together.
It was that Petroleum Jedi right there.
Yeah.
That I made out of Robinino when I had to sculpt the other eye, but I had to take everything off first.
Oh.
You have one on your wrist.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
yeah. So
You suffer
thanks
for your art, man.
The what?
You suffer for your art. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
I think we all do.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us. Thank you both for coming on with us today too
Sure,
to
man.
talk
Thanks.
about this.
Sure.
Yeah, man. Cool.
Anytime.
And do you guys just want to say where people could find your work so they could check you guys out?
Yeah, sure. I'm regularly on my Facebook page, which is Peak-OB1 Custom Creations, and I'm also on Clone Wars Custom Figures, which is a page both Brian and I are a part of. And I'm on there, and I'm also on some of the forums in Yak Face. I'm on with Imperial Shipyards, so you can find my works there, but mainly on Facebook.
Okay. And Dayton?
Just type in Sithfire30 in Google, and you'll pretty much find me wherever you need to, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And I'm finally updating my blog sometime in the next couple of weeks, which is about almost what, a year or two. I think my last update was blog updates coming in 2015. That was my last blog update. Nope,
Well, you have that Flickr account that's just amazing.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love Flickr. I
just like the way it, especially with your work, there's just something about the way the layout, and then you see all the little. Oh, your stuff looks great on Flickr.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love Flickr. That's my online portfolio, pretty much. You know, when it comes to all that work. But yep, that's where you can find me.
Yep. All right. Well, us Customs for the Kid. You do look in Google. It's on YouTube, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. Am I forgetting? Oh, Pinterest. It's everywhere. But yeah, thank you everybody, and have a safe evening.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.